So I did a video the other day about laughing and how it doesn't make you smart just because you laugh at things that you think are stupid. And there are some points I made in that video that I wanted to talk a little more on because I think it's important, and I talk about things that I think are important. So this is video 15 of my 31-day video challenge. And I want to talk about why we believe what we believe. And it's something that I've thought about a lot. I'm obviously no expert on it, but it's such an interesting thing to me. I think most of the things that we do, and so here's my theory as of right now. We do things and then we make up reasons for why we do them. And I think that's pretty visible with a child. If you ask them, you see them do something and then you ask them why they do it. If you were to get a behavioral psychologist to come and then explain why they did it, I think they'd have a different answer than the child would have, because I think most of the time we don't know what most of our motivations are. So I don't know, for me that's something that's really interesting to think about. I honestly believe that we lie to ourselves a lot about why we do things. But then there's obviously a large extent to which our choices are driven by conscious decisions that are reasoned out, but I really don't think we reason out things in the moment. I think most decisions that are actually made are made beforehand. And I think that's why it's important to think about things and maybe make decisions beforehand, because it's just hard to make decisions in the moment. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think our decisions are guided in large degree by our beliefs. I actually don't think it's the only thing. I think instinct probably guides our decisions as well. And so why do we believe what we believe? It's so interesting to me that people can hold on to beliefs and believe them so strongly and be very smart. Like, that's something I've found as I look around and examine different beliefs. There are very smart people on either side of every argument. And so what I've realized is it doesn't actually come down to how smart you are. And I think there's a lot of people that think that. And this goes back to like why it's stupid to just laugh at something that you disagree with. Because it's not, I don't think it's about how smart somebody is. I think people, this is kind of my working theory, but I think people pick something and then they choose to believe it for emotional reasons. I think it's almost always emotional. And then they find the facts and the evidence to support that belief. I think that's what happens 90% of the time. And that's something I've recognized in myself and try to compensate for a little bit. But I know there are things that we just deeply hold on to. And I don't think that's always a bad thing either. Maybe it's better to work from what you know and try to build on that and have a narrative, a story. I think humans have this relationship to stories that's beyond what we can understand, really. There's a lot of things like that, like music and all these things that, why are humans so interested in that? But stories really help us remember things, and they help us integrate new information. And and so I think that having a story in your head, regardless of what the story is going to help you integrate information and act out things in the world better than just having no story. And maybe there are stories that are worse, which is probably true. But I think if you have a story and remain open to information, you'll come to the truth faster than trying to have no story at all. But it's really interesting that people... I honestly wish I understood it better. Like I said before, they're very smart people who can believe very different things, and I honestly think it's because they pick what they're going to believe and then find the facts to support it. And to some degree, that's what you'd call... it's one of the biases. I can't remember the word right now. But... I think there are strong emotional reasons for people believing certain things. And maybe they've had experiences. I think mostly it deals with people's experience. How they've been treated, or things that they've seen acted out that like I know, well, I've seen, people who have been cheated by other people. A lot of those people that I've talked to tend to be a little less trusting, or like looking at religious beliefs. A lot of religious people have had strong positive experiences within their religion. Actually, very many religious people I know have left their religion for a while and then come back to it, which is really interesting, because I do tend to believe somebody more if they have changed their beliefs on something. I very rarely trust somebody who has never changed their beliefs, and hopefully that makes sense why. Because to me, if you've never changed your beliefs on anything, first of all, the likelihood that you were born into the perfect situation knowing all truth is zero, because nobody starts with 100% truth. I think we're all looking for knowledge. But if you've never changed your belief on anything, it tells me you've never learned anything new. And so, yeah, I tend to trust people more if they have changed their beliefs on something. And it probably comes down to experience. I think people tend to be more emotionally attached to the things that they learn earlier in life when they're a lot younger. But I mean, these are all really kind of my own theories on it, from a lot of thinking and trying to reason things out. It's interesting, though. It's really interesting that the world is much more complex than we wish it was, I think, at times. And it would be easy to to believe something were true and just ignore the facts that go against that. But the world doesn't work that way. And so I have this kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a technique or a tactic or just a method of going about things that I've kind of developed because I faced so much information that I'm uncertain about. One thing you can do when you face information that kind of shakes your worldview is immediately deny it, which I think a lot of people do. And it's really, I've thought about this too, and I wrote this down because there's an interesting thought to me, but I'll say it in this video. Every claim to truth is an appeal to authority. And so whenever you're claiming any sort of truth, you're really pointing to the source of that truth and saying that it is an authority, and that authority is valid. And so really, I guess an argument of truth and beliefs is really an argument of authority. And authority is, I don't know if I even want to go into that, because that's, I don't know if I could give an adequate definition of authority. I don't know if other people are as driven as I am to just figure out what's right and do the right thing. And as I've gone through life, I've found it more and more difficult to figure out what's right. And I've encountered other questions as well, like why is right? Why do we need truth? And is truth the most important thing to look for? We need a story because we need to know how to act in the world. That's what I've figured out. We need something to guide our actions. And that's, our basic belief system. Aside from that, all we have is our nature. And I don't think that can get us very far. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think our natural instincts get us very far in an ever-changing world. I think we need some sort of belief system, and we use that to govern our lives. And if that belief system comes into question, it can throw our entire worldview and our entire world, really, phenomenologically. It can throw our world out of order, out of balance, and kind of throw us into chaos, because if the way you're doing things turns out to not work, which actually happens all the time, I think. We have a theory, a working theory of how we do things, and then things come up that pull that apart, and then we have to rework our theory. But when that happens in an extreme way, and usually you just have to rework your theory, like I said, I honestly think most people aren't willing to throw away their entire theory. because it would just be difficult. I think it's just too much to throw away and then pick up something new. And so I think when discussing things with people, when talking with people, it's important to try to take them from where they are and take them in little steps. In the Bible and stuff, it says, line upon line and precept upon precept. Maybe that's important because we just can't take things all at once. Maybe it's too overwhelming. But yeah, that's a question that's really interesting to me. I think it's too easy to call people stupid when they have different beliefs, and I think it's lazy to do. The harder thing to do is try to understand where their beliefs came from, and the hardest thing to do is to question our own beliefs. And I guess I didn't get into this. The strategy that I use is where I try to hold my beliefs somewhat loosely. I try to remove my emotional attachment to my beliefs and recognize that my beliefs are a working theory for me, maybe. A method that I use of acting in the world. And I try to not be afraid of things that will challenge that belief. And I try not to ignore things that challenge my beliefs, because I think that's maybe the worst thing that you can do if you're looking for truth and if you're trying to look for the best way to live in the world. And so I have this thing that I do where I am able to kind of believe everything. I don't know if this makes sense, but if somebody tells me something, I'm able to believe it all the way through to, I guess, suspend disbelief, like as if you were reading a fiction story, and live in that world for a moment, and see where it takes you, and see if there's anything useful to be gained from that, because I actually think that there's useful things to be gained in almost every idea, and things that you can take and apply to your life that could possibly make your life better. And I think that works well if you're willing to let go of your beliefs for a little while, with the intention to pick them back up and suspend your disbelief and look into other things. Yeah, I talked about the flat Earth thing in my other video, and man, this video is getting long. I'll try to end it soon. Sorry. I looked a lot into the flat Earth idea and just entertained the possibility of that being true. A lot of people are afraid to do that, but I think it's important I think it's a good mental exercise to entertain the possibility of different ideas being true, and see what conditions would have to be met. I was thinking, and it's just kind of fun, like thinking about how, okay, the sun is like, it would have to be closer, and it'd have to be this disk, and the South Pole would have to go all the way around the Earth, and the North Pole would have to be in the center of it, and it's not like it hurts. It's not like it hurts to entertain those ideas. I don't know, maybe some people would argue that it does. That it ruins you or something, but I disagree with that, and would challenge everybody to entertain ideas without having to accept them fully, and maybe even be willing to do that with your own beliefs. so it doesn't hurt so bad when things change. I don't know. I think I'm the type of person that is willing to accept more uncertainty. I understand that there's a lot of things that I don't know. And yeah, maybe that's a more difficult way to live, but I can also still draw upon my beliefs and live them out. And see where it takes me. It seems to be working pretty well. So, anyways, that's what I got for today. Sorry so long. I don't think anybody watches these anyway, so it's really more for me to share my thoughts. But anyway, that's what I got, and thanks for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, I'm impressed. You can like, comment, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kelton Out Loud, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.